I was 17 when it happened. My parents still trusted me enough to leave me alone for the weekend, which, looking back, might have been their biggest mistake. Not because I threw a party or trashed the house or anything cliché like that. No. I didn't do any of that. All I did was order a damn pizza. I was in the basement playing some old horror game with my best friend, Cole. It was one of those muggy July nights where the air just clings to your skin, and the only thing keeping us sane was the basement fan humming in the corner like it was on its last breath. It was around 11:40 p.m. when Cole finally paused the game, threw his controller down, and said, "Dude, I'm starving. Let's order something." We debated for a few minutes, wings, Chinese, Taco Bell, but finally landed on pizza. There's a place about 5 miles from my house called Tony's Slice. It's one of those small, late-night joints that never change their prices and always use paper plates. We used to go there after middle school soccer practice, back when we thought we were going to be the next big thing. Anyway, I pulled up their website and ordered a large pepperoni and 2 bottles of orange soda. The delivery was scheduled for around midnight. That should have been my first red flag. At exactly 12:01 a.m., the doorbell rang. I remember that specifically because Cole turned to me and said, "Right on the dot. That's creepy." I laughed, walked up the basement stairs, and opened the front door without checking the peephole, because I was 17, and 17-year-olds don't think like that. The guy standing on the porch looked normal enough. Late 20s, early 30s maybe. Average height. Pale. He had these dark circles under his eyes, like he hadn't slept in days. He wore a red polo with the Tony's Slice logo stitched over the chest and a black baseball cap pulled low, hiding most of his face. "Pizza for Matt?" he asked. I nodded and reached for the pizza, but he didn't let go of the box. Not immediately. His hand lingered on it, gripping the cardboard just a little too long. Then he looked up and smiled. It was the kind of smile that makes your stomach twist, a little too wide, a little too practiced. "Nice house," he said. "You home alone?" That sentence landed like a brick in my chest. I laughed it off, because again, 17, but I felt the nerves crawl up my spine like cold fingers. I lied, of course. "Nah, my dad's upstairs. Thanks though." He nodded slowly, like he didn't believe me, then finally let go of the pizza and turned around. I watched him walk down the steps, get into his beat-up white Honda Civic, and drive off. No logo on the car. No delivery sign. Just a Civic with one taillight out and a bumper sticker that read, "People are strange." I stood there for a minute, watching the car disappear down my street. Something about the way he drove off, too slow, like he wasn't in a hurry to leave, gave me this awful, gnawing feeling in my gut. But I shook it off, closed the door, and carried the pizza back downstairs. Cole ripped open the box and started eating immediately. I tried to join in, but my appetite was fading. I told him what the guy said. "You home alone?" And even he paused, sauce smeared on his cheek. "Dude, that's weird." "Yeah. Weird." At the time, that's all we thought it was. We were wrong. So wrong. We tried to get back into the game, but the vibe was off. Cole kept glancing at the basement window, just one of those small, rectangular ones set high in the wall, barely above ground level. You couldn't see much out of it except for the bottom halves of cars and the tips of shrubs, but he kept looking at it like he expected something, or someone, to show up. I gave him crap for it at first, but I was doing the same thing. You know that feeling when you're alone, but you get this prickling sensation on the back of your neck? Like someone's watching you? That was creeping in, slow and steady, like fog under a door. At around 12:45 a.m., Cole froze. We were mid-round, he had just gotten a kill, and he dropped his controller. "Yo, did you see that?" I followed his gaze to the window. For a second, I thought I saw the edge of a red shirt. It vanished just as I looked, but I swear, there was someone standing outside. Not moving. Just watching. I went upstairs, heart pounding like a jackhammer in my chest. I told myself I was being paranoid, that it was probably a reflection or a trick of the light. But I still turned on every light in the house, one by one, until the place was glowing like a Christmas tree. Cole stayed downstairs while I checked the front porch. Nothing. Then I walked to the side of the house, barefoot on the cold pavement. I peered around the corner, and that's when I saw it. The Honda Civic. It was parked halfway down the street. Headlights off. Engine silent. Just sitting there in the dark like it was part of the night itself. My stomach dropped. It wasn't in front of any house. Just parked at the curb, pointed in the direction of my driveway. I stood there for a second, frozen, wondering if I was losing it. Then the driver's side door creaked open. He stepped out, same red polo, same baseball cap, same pale face. He didn't say anything. Didn't move toward me. Just stood there next to his car. Watching. I didn't even think. I bolted back inside, slammed the door, and locked every bolt and latch like I was in some home invasion movie. Cole came running up the stairs, asking what was going on, and I barely managed to get the words out. "It's him. He's outside." Cole wanted to call the cops right then and there, but I talked him down. I don't even know why. Maybe I was scared they wouldn't take it seriously. Maybe I was afraid of overreacting. But I told him, "Let's wait. Maybe he's just being a creep. Maybe he'll leave." God, I wish we had called the cops. We went back down to the basement, turned off all the lights, and sat there in the dark with our backs to the wall, the pizza sitting cold and untouched on the floor. Around 1:13 a.m., we heard footsteps on the porch. Not hurried footsteps. Not loud ones. Slow. Deliberate. One by one, creaking the old wood just enough to let us know he was still there. I grabbed my phone. Hands shaking. Opened the camera app and turned it to the front door, zoomed all the way in through the narrow window beside it. There he was. The man in the red polo. Standing at our front door, head tilted slightly to the side, like he was listening. Not knocking. Not ringing the bell. Just listening. Like he was trying to hear if anyone was breathing inside. We didn't move. Not an inch. The air in the basement felt heavy, like it had thickened around us. Cole had one hand over his mouth, breathing through his nose, eyes wide as dinner plates. I kept my phone aimed at the door, recording, even though I knew the footage would just show a fuzzy silhouette. My other hand was clamped so tight around my knee that my fingers went numb. Upstairs, the front porch groaned again. One more step. Then nothing. No knock. No footsteps. No car door. Just silence so deep I swear I could hear the blood pumping in my ears. I thought maybe he was gone. Maybe he realized we weren't going to answer and finally left. I was about to say something when my phone vibrated hard in my hand. New text. It wasn't a number I recognized. No name. Just 10 digits I didn't know. The message? "Why'd you lie about your dad?" My chest went cold. Cole saw the look on my face and whispered, "What? What is it?" I turned the screen so he could see. His mouth opened, then closed, and I could see the panic start to flood in. "How the hell did he get your number?" I had no idea. I hadn't given it to him. I didn't use any apps to order the pizza, just the restaurant website. But there it was, plain as day. That message. "Why'd you lie about your dad?" A minute later, another buzz. "You shouldn't lie. It's dangerous." I put my phone on silent and dropped it on the couch like it was radioactive. Cole pulled out his own phone to call the cops, but I grabbed his wrist and shook my head. "Don't. Not yet." I don't even know why I said that. Fear messes with your brain. Makes you think that somehow, someway, you can fix things without blowing them up. That was stupid. We waited. Another 10, maybe 15 minutes. Every second felt like a year. Then we heard the back door knob rattle. Not hard. Just a slight, delicate turn. Like someone testing it. I almost screamed. We didn't have a lock on that door. Just one of those little turn latch things you use when you're trusting and naive and think the worst thing that could happen is a raccoon getting in. I stood up. Didn't think. Just moved. I ran upstairs, flipped the deadbolt, and shoved the broom handle into the gap between the door and the frame. It was something my dad did during storms when the wind got crazy. I never thought I'd use it to keep a person out. I stood there, chest heaving, ear pressed to the door. And then I heard him. On the other side. Breathing. He didn't try to open it again. Didn't bang or shout or do anything you'd expect. He just stood there, so close to the door that I could hear each breath rasping out of his lungs. That sound still sticks with me. I don't think I'll ever forget it. Eventually, the breathing stopped. More silence. I backed away from the door, careful, like one wrong move would make the whole house shatter. I went back down to the basement, and found Cole crouched behind the couch, clutching a fire poker like it was a sword. His face was pale, eyes locked on the stairs. "We're calling the cops," he said. This time, I didn't argue. Cole's fingers were shaking so bad he kept messing up the unlock code on his phone. Third try, he finally got it open and dialed 911. He pressed it to his ear and waited. Nothing. Not static. Not a busy signal. Just nothing. He pulled the phone down and looked at it. "What the hell? No service?" I grabbed mine and checked. Same thing. Top left corner, no signal. Let me be clear, we were in the suburbs. Not out in the woods or anything. I'd never had a dropped call in our house, let alone 0 bars. We both had different carriers, too. It made no sense. We tried texting people. Snapchat? Instagram? Every app either froze or gave that little spinning wheel of death. Then my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. "I told you." "Don't lie." I almost threw the phone across the room. Cole leaned over and grabbed it out of my hands, stared at the message, then looked at me like he'd just swallowed a nail. "He's blocking our signal. He planned this." I wanted to laugh. Like, what was this, a movie? Some pizza guy with a phone jammer and night vision goggles? But my legs were shaking, and the room felt like it was spinning, and deep down I knew he was right. This wasn't random. It wasn't just a guy being creepy. This was intentional. We sat there for a minute, both of us too scared to breathe, when the basement light flickered. Once. Twice. Then went out. Everything was swallowed in thick blackness. Cole screamed and jumped to his feet. I scrambled up after him and hit the light switch, flipping it back and forth like an idiot, but the bulb was dead. I pulled out my phone and turned on the flashlight. It barely cut through the dark. "Upstairs," I said. "We're leaving. Now." We crept up the steps as quietly as we could. I held the flashlight low, trying not to shine it through any windows. Every creak of the wood made my heart thud louder. I opened the front door curtain just a crack and peeked outside. The street was empty. No Civic. No figure in red. Just the faint glow of the street light and the stillness of 1:40 a.m. suburbia. "Okay," I whispered. "We make a run for it. To the neighbors. Mr. Davies has cameras. He's always awake late." Cole nodded, face pale and serious. We opened the door slowly, carefully. That's when we saw it. Not the man. The pizza box. It was sitting on the welcome mat. The same one we'd already eaten from hours ago. Except this one was shut. Perfect. Fresh looking. And written across the top in thick black marker. "You forgot to tip." We both stared at it. My hand was still on the doorknob. I felt sick. Then the porch light flickered, just for a second, and we both bolted. Didn't shut the door. Didn't look back. We just ran. We sprinted across the lawn, barefoot, breath puffing in sharp bursts, hearts thudding so loud I was sure they could be heard down the street. Mr. Davies' place was 4 houses down, retired cop, lived alone, obsessed with security. We always gave him crap about his motion lights and 6 flood cams, but that night? That night I was praying to every god I knew that he had one pointed at our door. We banged on his front door like maniacs, yelling and ringing the bell until the porch lights clicked on. A second later, the door creaked open, and there he was in flannel pajamas, holding a revolver like it was an extension of his arm. Jesus, boys! What the hell's going on? We spilled everything. The pizza guy, the messages, the car, the second box, everything. Mr. Davies didn't ask questions. He waved us inside, locked the door behind us, and set the gun down on the kitchen counter with a hard clunk. Then he did something unexpected. He walked to a closet, pulled out a monitor hooked up to a hard drive, and started scrubbing through the night's surveillance footage. He had 6 angles saved on loop: front porch, driveway, side yard, and a few from the street. "Let's see if we got our guy," he muttered. I stood behind him, barely breathing, as he rewound to midnight. There it was, me opening the door, the delivery guy handing over the pizza. Except, something was wrong. On the camera, I was standing alone. I leaned closer, squinting at the grainy footage. Wait. No. That's wrong. He was right there. He was handing me the box. Mr. Davies scrubbed forward. Still just me, standing there with my arms out, like I was talking to someone invisible. Then I turned, walked inside, and shut the door behind me, alone. "No one's with you, Matt," he said slowly. Cole was watching too. He looked sick. I saw him," I stammered. "He was wearing red. He talked to me." "He said I lied?" "He asked if I was alone." Mr. Davies didn't answer. He switched feeds, pulled up the sidewalk view. Maybe the guy was just out of frame. Nope. Nothing. No Civic. No figure. No movement on the street at all from 11:50 to 12:15. And then he rewound to the moment we ran out the door. That's when everything changed. The footage showed both of us, me and Cole, barreling out the front door, tripping over ourselves. The porch was empty. No second pizza box. Mr. Davies paused the frame. "There's nothing there." "No," I said. "It was there. We both saw it. It had writing on it, it said, 'You forgot to tip,'" Cole whispered, staring at the screen. I turned to him. "You saw it too, right? Say you saw it." He looked at me, and for a long second, he didn't say anything. Then he muttered, "I don't know anymore." I felt my skin crawl. Like something was unraveling. Like we were losing grip on what was real. Mr. Davies looked between us, clearly disturbed now. He told us to sit down, poured us each a glass of water, and went back to the computer. "Let me check one more thing," he said. "I'll pull the motion logs. If anything came near your house tonight, it should have triggered the side camera. Hang tight." He walked into the other room and closed the door behind him. We sat there in silence, ice clinking in our glasses, Cole pale and shaking. 10 minutes passed. 15. "He's taking too long," I muttered. I stood up and walked to the hallway. Tapped on the door. "Mr. Davies?" No answer. I pushed it open. He was gone. The room was empty. The monitor was still on, frozen on a pause frame. It showed the side yard. And standing there, clear as day, time-stamped at 1:49 a.m., was me. Not from earlier. Me, wearing the same clothes I had on right now. Standing at the side of my house. Smiling. I didn't speak. I couldn't. My throat locked up as I stared at the monitor, at that impossible image. The timestamp in the bottom corner kept blinking like a heartbeat, 1:49 a.m., which meant it was recorded maybe 20 minutes ago. Cole came up behind me, muttering, "What is it?" "What?" Then he saw it too. He leaned in, face going slack. That's you, man." He was right. It was me. Same hoodie. Same stupid graphic tee with the slashed-up band logo. But the expression, that wasn't mine. The other me was grinning. Like he was amused. Like he knew something we didn't. And in his right hand, barely visible under the dim night vision feed, was a pizza box. I stepped back, heart pounding. This is a prank, right? It's gotta be. Deepfake? Photoshop? Maybe Mr. Davies. Mr. Davies is gone, Cole said quietly. The house suddenly felt colder. I opened the hallway closet. His coat was still there. Shoes still lined up by the wall. Keys still in the bowl by the front door. But he wasn't. No note. No signs of struggle. He just vanished. Cole kept staring at the monitor, like if he blinked, it would change. If that's not you, he said, then what is it? I couldn't answer. My stomach was twisting, my mind pulling in a dozen directions at once. Was it a twin? A trick? A setup? But then I remembered something. The pizza guy, his smile. The way he tilted his head, listened at the door. The same way I was doing in that footage. I turned back to the monitor and scanned the rest of the frame. And there it was. In the very edge of the shot, half hidden behind the fence, barely lit, stood a second figure. Wearing a red polo shirt. Watching me watch the house. Watching me. The footage cut out. Just blinked black. Cole cursed under his breath and stepped back. We need to get out of here, he said. Right now. Go somewhere public. A gas station. I don't care. I agreed. Whatever this was, it was too big for us. Too wrong. We grabbed our stuff and bolted for the front door. Just as I twisted the knob, my phone buzzed again. I shouldn't have looked. But I did. Unknown number. A picture this time. It was taken from the side of my house. It showed me and Cole standing inside Mr. Davies' hallway, watching the footage. The caption underneath? You're not the only one with cameras. We didn't say a word after that. We just ran. Burst through Mr. Davies' front door like it was on fire, tore down the sidewalk, and didn't stop until we hit the main road. Cars were scarce at this hour, and the only place even remotely open was a 24-hour gas station with flickering lights and a handwritten, "No bathroom," sign duct taped to the window. Didn't matter. It had people, cameras, and most importantly cell reception. As soon as we got inside I checked my phone. Full bars. Cole's too. He started dialing his parents. I called 911. My call went through this time. I stammered out everything: home invasion, threats, a missing neighbor. The dispatcher took it seriously. Promised to send a unit to the house immediately. Said to stay put. I didn't feel any safer. We sat near the back wall of the store, under a buzzing soda fridge, keeping our eyes glued to the window. The cashier, a skinny guy in his 20s with greasy hair and AirPods in, looked up once but didn't ask questions. Just went back to scrolling on his phone. And then, right as Cole's mom answered, his face went pale again. Dude, he whispered, handing me his phone. His mom's voice was on speaker, distant, confused. Cole? Why are you calling me from the house phone? I froze. We weren't at the house. We hadn't touched the landline. You just called and hung up, she said. Is this a joke? Cole snatched the phone back and tried to explain, but she kept talking, her voice sharper now. You said something weird. You said don't let them leave again. Then it went silent. Cole looked like he just swallowed glass. We hung up. Tried to process. Failed. Then the store's overhead TV flickered. It was some local news channel playing a rerun of a late-night talk segment. The anchor was talking about traffic or a water main break, something ordinary. Until the screen glitched. Just for a second. The footage cut to static, then showed a frame, just one. A paused image. It was a black and white still of my living room. Same couch. Same lamp. Same pizza box on the table. And in the corner, where the hallway meets the kitchen, stood two figures. One of them was me. The other? Red Polo. Head turned just enough to look at the camera. Then it cut back to the news like nothing had happened. Cole stood up so fast he knocked over a display of beef jerky. The cashier looked up, annoyed, and took out one AirPod. Y'all good? No, I muttered, stepping toward the counter. No, we're not good. That TV, what station is that? Where's the feed coming from? He looked at me like I'd grown two heads. It's satellite. Why? Because someone hijacked it. He just blinked. What, like a hacker? Cole grabbed my arm and pulled me back. Dude, it's not just watching us anymore. I looked at him, and I knew what he meant. It was broadcasting us. Whoever, or whatever, this was, it wanted people to see. We turned to leave, to wait outside for the cops, but the front door of the gas station slid open with a soft ding. A man walked in. Red polo. Black cap. Same too-wide smile. But here's the twist, the part that still haunts me. He wasn't alone. Another figure followed behind him. Same clothes. Same face. Another version of me. I didn't move. Neither did Cole. The guy behind the counter muttered something under his breath, probably a lazy, welcome, but even he felt it. The stillness. That sharp wrongness in the air, like a storm was about to break, but somehow quieter. The man in the red polo stood just inside the automatic doors. His hands were empty. His eyes were wrong. Too wide. Too calm. Like a predator that had already picked out the part of you it wanted to tear into. But it was the second guy that locked me in place. Because he was me. Not just look-alike similar. I mean exact. Same jawline. Same haircut. Same tiny scar on my chin from when I fell off my bike in 6th grade. Even the clothes were the same, my hoodie, my jeans. But they were off. Just a little. Faded like they'd been washed 1,000 times. The fabric sagged, the color dulled. Like it was copied. He looked at me. I looked at him. And I swear to God, it smiled. Not like someone who was happy. Like someone who'd won. Cole grabbed my sleeve. Matt, he whispered. That can't be. I know, I said. I know. The cashier finally took his other AirPod out and looked up. Hey, can I help you guys with something? The red polo man turned his head slowly, almost mechanically, and looked at the cashier. Then, in a perfectly calm, friendly voice, he said, They forgot to tip. The cashier chuckled, awkward. Oh, you guys know each other? Neither of us answered. The cashier looked between us and the two men near the door. He was starting to catch on, just a flicker of doubt, of unease in his eyes. Then the me copy walked forward. Not rushed. Not aggressive. Just casual, like he was already supposed to be here. He stopped 2 feet in front of me. Close enough that I could smell his breath, sour, like rotten grease and something else. Something feral. And then he leaned in and whispered in my ear. Go ahead. Tell them I'm not you. I jerked back, heart pounding so hard I felt it in my gums. I turned to the cashier. You see this, right? That's not me. That's not possible. The guy looked unsure now. I mean, it's weird, sure, but he looks exactly like you. The red polo man stepped up beside the copy and said, almost helpfully, You should be more polite to yourself. And then, from behind the counter, came the sound of a second phone buzzing. Cole's. He picked it up with shaking hands. One new message. A video file. He tapped it open, and the color drained from his face. He turned it toward me. It was footage, shaky, handheld. From behind a bush or tree, looking into Mr. Davies' living room. It showed me and Cole sitting on his couch. Laughing. Eating pizza. Like none of this had happened. Like we never left the house. Cole whispered, Matt, if we're here, then who the hell is that? The store lights buzzed louder, like they sensed the weight in the room had shifted. I looked at the phone again, the grainy footage of us, other us, sitting comfortably in Mr. Davies' house. I could see the pizza box on the table. Could hear faint laughter, like a background track pulled from a life that wasn't mine anymore. The worst part? The copy of me in the video was happy. Like content, like he'd gotten away with something I couldn't even name. I whispered to Cole. That's not recorded. That's live. He looked at me like I'd just stabbed him. Then he looked around the store, at the cameras in each corner, at the TV, at the automatic door sensors. All the things that watch. And he said something I hadn't thought of until then. If we're on camera, who's filming them? That stopped everything. Because someone was holding the phone. Someone was filming that version of us, the happy, wrong ones, like a show they'd tuned into. And that someone wasn't us. I looked at the Red Polo man. His head tilted. Almost like he'd heard what Cole said and liked it. Then he moved. Quick. Too quick. Before the cashier could even speak, the man reached across the counter, grabbed his wrist, and twisted. There was a sick pop, a thud, and the cashier crumpled like a rag doll, knocked cold against a rack of energy shots and scratched tickets. Cole and I screamed and bolted for the back of the store. There was a door labeled employees only and we hit it full speed. It opened into a stock room, shelves of bottled water, cases of chips, a humming walk-in freezer in the back. We didn't stop. We ducked into the freezer and slammed the door behind us, pressing our bodies against it as if that could keep them out. The light inside buzzed to life. Cold bit into our skin immediately. The humming sound was loud in the tiny space, but through it, I could still hear the sound of the gas station floor outside. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Cole slid to the floor, shaking. What the hell is happening, Matt? I didn't answer. Because something had changed. In the back of the freezer, behind the rows of frost-covered boxes and crates of frozen patties, was an access panel. A metal door. I'd seen them before in hardware stores, maintenance crawlspaces for piping or breakers. Except this one was open. Wide. And on the wall beside it, written in something dark and smeared, ketchup or old blood, I couldn't tell, was one sentence. You're almost ready. I stepped forward, hands numb, breath fogging in the freezing air. Cole grabbed my arm. Don't go in there. I'm not sure we have a choice. Then, as if on cue, a knock came from the other side of the freezer door. Just one. Sharp. Then a voice that didn't sound quite like mine said, You're in the wrong version. The voice on the other side of the freezer door wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It spoke in this calm, steady tone, like a parent waking a child from a bad dream. Like it knew we'd come to the end of the road. It didn't even knock again. Just let that one echo hang in the air like punctuation. You're in the wrong version. Cole was pale, knees pulled tight to his chest, eyes locked on the metal panel in the wall. I could see his breath, short and fast. Could see the way he was trying not to fall apart. Matt, he said quietly, what if we already left the real version? I didn't answer. I didn't know how. Because it was starting to make sense in the worst possible way. The video of us on the couch. The version of me outside the house. The text messages. The static interruptions. Every piece of it added up to one sick possibility. We weren't being followed. We were being replaced. One layer at a time. I stepped toward the open crawl space in the back wall. From here, it looked like a vent shaft, the kind you'd see in an old building, narrow, dark, lined with metal ribs. But something was glowing faintly deeper inside. A reddish, pulsating hue. Like heat behind a thin curtain. We can't go in there, Cole said. That's what they want. I turned to him. Then what do we do? Sit here until they find us? Freeze to death while someone else walks around with our names and our faces? He didn't answer. I crawled inside. It was tighter than I expected, and the air got warmer the deeper I went. Like the cold of the freezer stopped existing behind me. The tunnel twisted, turned, breathed. The light grew stronger, more orange now. Like a furnace had been lit at the end of the world. I could hear a sound up ahead, low murmuring, like dozens of voices whispering the same sentence over and over. And when I reached the end, I dropped out into a room. My living room. Not the real one. This one was twisted, soft around the edges, like it had been remembered wrong. The pictures on the wall were of people who looked like my family, but their faces weren't quite right. Too flat. Too still. Like a wax museum no one ever visited. And on the couch sat the other me. He turned slowly, as if expecting me, and smiled that same dead grin. "Finally," he said. "You came to leave the tip." Then I saw it. On the coffee table, in front of the cold, congealed pizza box, sat a receipt. It had my name on it. My handwriting. A signature. And written across the tip line, in dark red ink, "Everything." The other me leaned in, eyes glowing now, not metaphorically. Literally. Burning coals where pupils should be. "You gave it all away, Matt. When you opened the door. When you let me in." Behind me, the crawlspace slammed shut. I spun, heart clawing up my throat, but it was gone. Just a wall now. No vent. No exit. From the hallway, I heard another knock. The front door. I turned slowly. Through the warped glass, I saw a figure standing outside. A delivery man. Red polo. Black cap. Holding another box. And on the lid, written in black marker, "No refunds."